So, shall we start the session, sir? So, good evening.
Yes.
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 Dear participant, today we are going to have one of the interesting session on webinar series on mental health and well-being. With us, a renowned psychologist, I can say the trainer and then therapist with us. Instead of introducing me by myself, I request Mr. Krishnan sir to just introduce the resource person to the participant. Dear participant, today we are going to have a wonderful session on the power of gratitude in fighting the pandemic. With us, Reverend Father Lawrence Hussain is with us. Sir Krishnan sir, please introduce the resource person to the participants.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, all. And I have the privilege, it's a privilege to introduce Dr. Lawrence Hussain. He's the head of department and dean of studies at Anugraha College, Anugraha Institute of Social Sciences in Dinakal, which provides lots of practical knowledge. That the courses are given with the practical with this initiative. And he holds a PhD from University of Milan, and he's a fantastic therapist, and his expertise in altruism is very well known, and also he's a family therapist. It is a wonderful session we are going to have. It's a real privilege. I thank Suresh for giving me this honor to introduce Father Lawrence Hussain. Over to Father.
Sir, you can take this.
Good evening, everyone. A special good evening to Dr. Suresh Kumar, and thanks, Krishna, for introducing me. It's an honor to be part of this process. I heard very good topics about it. I'm happy to join this evening. And this evening, we are going to have this topic on the power of gratitude in fighting the pandemic, the COVID-19 situation. Krishna, you'll be displaying the PowerPoint. Could you please?
1 minute. I'll do that, sir.
Okay. Maybe I will start talking. You can prepare it. Now, Corona, the COVID-19 has created a unique situation that none of us have ever imagined or gone through. Of the many issues involved in this, the third slide we can go into. The many issues involved in that, the psychological impacts or the psychological issues that we see. Can we go to the next tab, please? One thing is there is a great amount of fear and anxiety. So that's one of the topmost thing that we experience today, fear of getting the sickness or anxiety over the sickness and the things that are around that. And apart from this sickness as such, there is also the great issue of lockdown. And the lockdown has got a lot of sociological, economical issues, but there are also a lot of psychological issues because of the lockdown. And we hear a lot of families having interpersonal, relational problems. Individuals are feeling depressed. There are a lot of psychological issues with regard to the lockdown. In all this, there is two topmost emotional or psychological factor that we must understand. Is one is uncertainty. We are not sure what is going to happen. And psychologists, the sense of uncertainty is one of the worst things that can affect people. Even when there's a sickness, if people know what is sickness, they can better handle it. But when there's an uncertainty, that's one of the worst situation a human being can go through emotionally and psychologically. In all this of this fear, anxiety, lockdown, of lockdown situations and uncertainty, there is a sense of helplessness that is one of the topmost emotional issue that people are facing today. what shall we do? Even the governments, the big, powerful governments, are not sure what is exactly going to happen and how we are going to handle it. So, a sense of helplessness is one of the topmost psychological effect we have at this time. Next slide, please. So from a psychological perspective, often we speak about how we will bounce back from the situation, how we will face it, how we will win over it. So we can say in terms of the psychological resource, we will think resilience is one of the most important thing that we all must have. So resilience by its definition is called bouncing back. So there is an adversity, there is an issue, how I will get up, bounce back. This is what resilience. So everybody says, given this pandemic, this never ever imagined, never ever experienced situation that we are in a state of helplessness, how we will bounce back. And everybody says we have to bounce back. But the question is, next tab, please. How to bounce back? That's because bouncing back is an act, because I get up is an act. So resilience by in itself, the definition is an effect of something. So for resilience to happen, what is the source that is pushing somebody to bounce back? So resilience assumes there is an inner state, there is a resource that makes somebody to get up. So we have to think about what is the source within each of us or each of these people that we can bounce back. Next slide, please. So in bouncing back, people have found similar experience, previous experience of trauma. For example, I have gone through a previous traumatic experience, then I can easily bounce back. There are incidences, there are studies that shows when people into 2011, sorry, 19, when the Twin Towers were destroyed, there are some people who escaped easily from that situation. When they interviewed them, how did you manage to escape from the situation? They had previous experiences of trauma. So in case a person has got previous experience of trauma, he or she can easily bounce back. This is one of the source that helps people to resilient. Or a person is generally hopeful and optimistic personality, they can bounce back easily. Or a person has got faith or trust in God or the divine power, a person can bounce back. So these are the resources for people to bounce back. So resilience is an act outcome. For resilience to happen, these are the resources that one must have. So I am going to speak gratitude as one of the disposition that can help people to bounce back. As previous experiences of trauma, as hope or optimism or faith or trust in God, how can serve as a resources for people to bounce back. I'm going to speak how gratitude is one of the disposition that can help you and me, anyone, to bounce back not only from COVID-19, from any other situations which need certain amount of bouncing back. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So now let us just start with a simple understanding of quickly gratitude. No, it is a good manner, and it is called the magic word. And in fact, all cultures, all religions speak about there is good value called gratitude, and gratitude is often called the best attitude. Next, please. Now, what we are going to speak this evening is not about this good value and attitude. Now, we are going to speak particularly from the context of how within positive psychology, this gratitude has got a lot of personal benefits. Now, that is very interesting. Now, gratitude has got a lot of personal benefits, which is very interesting to all of us, to researchers and psychologists, particularly in this time to fight this pandemic. Can you go to the next slide, please? Now, these are a kind of general benefits of gratitude identified. There are 25 benefits which are grouped into 5 major categories. And all these 25 benefits are identified to promote happiness. Now, I fully understand about these four categories. That is the first category on the top, emotional, the second category on the right, social, and the third category on the left, personality, the fourth category on the down right side, career, and the fifth category on the health. Now, emotional, social, career, and personality, those things I understand very well. It is also, it's not very surprising to me. For example, when you are thankful, you have got a better social relationship. Many people like you, people are feeling to be with you, more friendships evolve. Career benefits also greater when you are grateful. People like to work with you and you have greater advancement in the career. That also I understand. Personality also, people like grateful personality. Emotionally, when you are grateful, good things happen. But what is more interesting to me is about the health benefits. If you noticed, if you are grateful, your got improved sleep, you become less sick. There is an increased energy. You have a tendency to exercise more, and longevity, you live longer. Now, my question is, how come when I say thanks to somebody, my health is improving? That's very interesting. When I say thanks to somebody, my relationship improves, people interact with me better, people like me, and that is my career. That all those things are beneficial. I understand. But when I say thanks to somebody, how come my health is improving? That is very interesting. And we are going to explore gratitude from that perspective and how that can become kind of help to serve in this pandemic. Next slide, please. Now, so I am not going to discuss with you today about gratitude in terms of saying thanks to another and what happens in an interpersonal relationship. I'm going to speak more about when I say thank you to somebody, what happens within myself. So it's not only what happens within myself, but what happens as a mindset. For example, when I say thanks to somebody, I feel happy. That's an emotional state. So we are going to speak not in terms of emotional state, but we are going to speak a long-lasting pattern of mindset. So this evening we are going to speak gratitude not as an interpersonal issue. No, we are going to speak what happens to oneself, not just what happens oneself in an emotional state, which is a affective state, which can be fluctuating, but we are going to speak about the mindset, which is a long lasting state. How this long lasting mindset can become a resource for us to bounce back in a life. This is what we will see. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Now, first, let us kind of ask ourselves, when do we say thanks to somebody? Maybe Krishna, I know, so I ask Krishna, when do you say thanks to somebody? Whenever somebody has done good to you, am I right? You never say thanks to somebody when somebody has done harm to you. You never say to somebody, thank you very much, you are stamping on my feet. You never say that. You always say thanks to somebody when you think that somebody has done something good to you. Maybe sarcastically we say to people, to husband or to mother-in-law, thank you, you spoiled my day. Thank you very much. We sarcastically say, but never ever we say thanks to somebody when we think that they have done wrong to us. So it is understood that we say thanks to somebody only when we feel that they have done good to us. In that way, it is said, when you say thank you, automatically your mind starts to think that something good has happened to you. Now, this is a very simple logic. Next slide, please. Next slide. It is said, when you say thank you to somebody, automatically your mind thinks that something good has happened to you. And the more you say thank you, the more your mind thinks something good has happened to you. And the more your mind thinks something good has happened to you, you attract more positive things. It's a very simple logic. Get up in the morning, 10 times you say, this day will be miserable, this day will be hopeless, this day will be problematic, this day will be terrible. 10 times you say that, I'm sure that that day will be like that. So it is said, the more we think for grateful in our minds, the more the mind starts to think something good has happened to me, something best has happened to me, some blessing has happened. So you start to think that you are more blessed. This create a mindset in you that you automatically attract to positive. That's why the vibration of gratitude attracts more positive things into your life. This concept that when I think more about positive, that I am lucky, it also has got positive health benefits. Next slide, please. Now, so we all know that our mind, thought process, and body functions are connected. For example, if you think that something danger is coming, automatically your body gets alert. If you think that something harm has happened to you, your body becomes very angry and is ready to attack. And let's say when your body thinks that something good as beneficial has happened, your body relaxes. This is a kind of natural memory that body has built. To make this point a little more clear, I just speak about these laughter clubs. Many of us know about laughter clubs. Some of us are already in the laughter club, maybe. Like laughter club, what they do every Saturday or Sunday in a day, they gather in a park or in a public place. They stand around, they sit around, look at each other, and keep on laughing. And he said they have their problems, they have got their difficulty, they got their financial issues. But the moment they start to laugh, mind produces serotonin, because there is a memory in the mind. Whenever you are happy, you laugh. So you are laughing. So it produces a happy chemical called serotonin. Now, it is said mind has got so much of memory that you don't need even to laugh. You just push your cheeks off like that. Your mind thinks that you are happy, because mind knows these muscles go up only when you are happy, when you are smiling. So as soon as you push these muscles up, brain thinks that you are happy. That's why when we are sad, these muscles go down and we say, why are you having a long face? The point that I want to tell here is that body has got memory, and it when there's a corresponding behavior, it produces corresponding results. For example, when I smile or push my muscles up, my mind thinks that I am happy and produces serotonin. When in gratitude, my mind thinks something good has happened to me, something blessing has happened to me, automatically my mind relaxes, because my body relaxes. So this is just opposite of stress. What is stress? In stress, I start to conceive and perceive that something danger, something problematic is there. So my body tightens up. And stress creates all kind of issues, because it reduces immune system by tightening of the muscles and reducing the blood circulation. When my mind thinks something good and beneficial has happened, my body automatically relaxes. And when my body automatically relaxes, my parasympathetic nervous system is at work most of the time. And for our health to improve, our parasympathetic nervous system must be at its optimum level. Stress actually does not allow the parasympathetic nervous system to be at its optimum level. It only allows the sympathetic nervous system to be at the highest level. So, sympathetic nervous system is tightening of the muscles. Parasympathetic nervous system is the loosening of the muscles. So gratitude actually enhances health of a person, immune system of the person, by activating the parasympathetic nervous system. It is the mind memory that is there. Next slide, please. So it was initially found by a study with a group of nuns in the United States. They were studying about these nuns, and they were writing diaries for some 10 years. They fed all this matter into a computer, and they ran a meta-analysis. And meta-analysis, in some nuns, they had this sense of gratitude, words of gratitude. They found that these nuns who had this sense of gratitude, words of gratitude, most of the time they enjoyed better health and happiness, through which they encouraged them to the study. Because when you think that gratitude attitude, or when you think grateful things, your system thinks that something good has happened. It relaxes your system. Parasympathetic nervous system is active. Then health improves. There is one other study that is interesting. In the United States, there is a time called Thanksgiving Day. In Thanksgiving Day, whatever happens, the entire family comes together, they celebrate together, they thank each other, they spend time together. Interestingly, after the Thanksgiving Day, people who enter into emergency in the United States have decreased drastically or significantly for 2 days after Thanksgiving Day. In other words, Thanksgiving or thanks has got such great impact on people and their health. So the first thing is that when you say thank you, we or you, all of us develop a mindset, something good has happened in my life. This is the first benefit in terms of a long lasting mindset. The next slide, please. Second, this is also a very interesting mindset benefit. Gratitude means you are blessed with something. This is the first point that we saw. In that regard, gratitude means also happiness. Now, let us simply ask our question, what is happiness? We may have, next slide, please. We may have a lot of definitions for happiness, but I just want to speak from being an emotion. Now, for every emotion, there is an underlying thought. So, as psychologists, we know every emotion has got an underlying thought. The underlying thought for fear is there is a threat for me and I cannot manage it. That's an underlying thought for fear. For example, an ant is coming, a small ant. A dinosaur is coming. Usually we are afraid of dinosaur because dinosaur is a big thing we cannot manage. Ant, a small ant, we can crush it. So we are not afraid of the ant. But if we know this ant can spread COVID-19, then probably we are afraid of the ant as well. So what is the underlying thought for fear? There is a threat for me and I cannot manage. This is the underlying thought for fear. What is the underlying thought for anger? The underlying thought for anger is somebody has done a harm to me. A harm is done already to me. So if somebody has spoiled my name, they have caused physical injury, psychological injury, or injustice is happening, or invasion is happening, my intention is thwarted. In these 4 I moments, when a harm is done, when I perceive a harm is done, I get angry. So anger is always about the past, fear is always about the future. So underlying thought for an emotion, there is a thought. So for fear, a threat for me, anger, a harm is done. For sadness and happiness, there is an underlying thought. That's very important to identify. Let me tell you a small example. I went to Kerala and I was in the train. It's before the lockdown. I was in the train and a man came selling lottery tickets. I was not interested to buy lottery tickets, but he was pestering, just 10 rupees, buy it, buy it. So because of his pestering, I bought a lottery ticket. And I bought a lottery ticket for 10 rupees and I won 10 crores. What would you say? Should I be happy or should I be sad? Naturally, I will be happy. Am I right? If I'm normal, I should be happy. But I will tell you the real story. He was pestering me to buy the lottery ticket. I was not interested, but just because of 10 rupees and pestering, I gave the 10 rupees and I took one ticket and it ended with the 972. I did not like that 972 number. So I changed it and I got 1672. Actually, the 672 I got won 10 crores. The 972 I rejected got 100 crores. What should I feel now? If I focus, Mamma Mia, I lost that 90 crores, I will be sad. If I focus, at least I got 10 crores, I will be happy. So what is the underlying thought for happiness and sadness is when I perceive a misfortune, I lost 90 crores, I will be sad. If I perceive a fortune, I will be happy. So the underlying thought for happiness is fortune. So even that's why sometimes even when people are sick, they can be happy if they perceive a fortune into that. My God, I got sick because of which I came to know who are my real friends. Then they will say, thanks be to God that I got sick. So it is very important that people can feel happy also in misfortune if they start to see fortune in that. Sometimes even when a person is dead, some people can feel satisfied and relieved and sense of some kind of happiness because they have been suffering and it has been very long ordeal, and I feel sad, not exactly happy, I feel satisfied that they have gone. So whenever we see a fortune in any misfortune also, we can be happy. So in that regard, let us come now to the point. When do I feel grateful? When something good has happened to me. When do I feel happy? When a fortune has happened to me. In that way, both for fortune and gratitude, a same level of thought process happens in our mind. So it is very interesting to say in that regard, next slide please. In that regard, it is said happiness and gratitude are equal, because it is the same way the mind processes the information both for happiness and for gratitude. That's why it said it's not happiness that brings us gratitude, it is gratitude that brings us happiness. So if you want to be happy, there could be many ways, but one of the best way is to be grateful, because your brain starts to kind of process in the same way both for gratitude and happiness. In fact, studies show that gratitude reduces negative feelings, and gratitude makes people to be more kind and helping others. So happiness and gratitude are similar, and if you want to be happy in your mindset, it is important to be grateful. The third mindset. Now, it is said one of the worst things that we can do in life is taking things for granted. Now, we get used to things so easily. We take our luxuries also for granted, thanks to Corona, in a way that it has reminded us of the many luxuries that we have been taking for granted, even the oxygen that we breathe. It said in Italy, a man got healed of Corona, COVID-19, and he was 93 years old. So he was very happy, and the doctor said, unfortunately, you have to pay 5,000 euros for the oxygen that you are using. And he started to cry, it seems, and the doctors were concerned. Sorry, in case you cannot pay the money, you don't need to pay. But he said, no, 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 I will pay the money. But I was so upset that all these 90 years I was breathing for free this oxygen, and I never realized that. So in that regard, sometimes gratitude saves us from this worst peril of life, that is taking things for granted. And it is said most of the time we take our loved ones, the love of people also for granted. The next slide, please. So it is said in the couple relationship, one of the worst sickness is that couple take each other for granted. And a study showed that teenagers who take for granted their parents tend to fight with the parents more. Next slide, please. We did a research with some students, school students in Dindikal. A PhD student of mine did a research, and he's continuing his research. He had a gratitude intervention with the teenagers of +1 and +2. And he did a gratitude intervention of 15 days of counting the blessings, writing a thank you note, and practicing gratitude exercises, and watching a gratitude movie. Now, it's interestingly, we found after 15 days of gratitude intervention, these teenagers started to fight less to their parents, or they started to appreciate more their parents. Interestingly, when they started to appreciate their parents, they started to fight, or they started to less fight, reduce their fight with their parents. In other words, next slide, please. Gratitude increases a sense of appreciation, and it helps us to practice mindfulness. Actually, what is mindfulness in simple terminology? Your mind being full into the situation. It's not that your mind is crowded, your mind is full of things. No, 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 no. Your mind is fully present in what you do. So in that regard, we always ask ourselves, should we thank our loved ones? Should you, Dr. Suresh Kumar, should you thank your wife? Krishna, should we thank your wife? We just ask. Most of the time we don't do it. Actually, uh, they don't expect our thanks. Our loved ones do not expect our thanks. But we cannot take our loved ones for granted. It actually saves us from this routine of falling into the peril of routine where we take things for granted. So, in fact, gratitude develops or prepares a mindset of mindfulness within a person. Can you go to the next slide, please? So when we kind of next slide, please. Next slide, please. The previous slide. Sorry, previous slide. Previous. Yeah, your ordinary life becomes more enjoyable. Your routine becomes more enjoyable. So it gives a great appreciation of life. Next one. There was a Sri Lankan youth who wrote, in case you are waiting for your dad to come back home, you are very lucky, because I am not sure whether my dad will come back. If you are preparing to celebrate your sister's birthday next week, you are so lucky, because I am not sure whether I will celebrate. During the time of war, he was writing. So it is said, we take many things for granted, and in case you want to check, you try to do all your activities without using your thumb for one day. You will realize how thumb is more important in our life, and how we take thumb for granted. So actually, gratitude saves us from this peril of routine and develops a mindfulness within our mindset. Next one, please. So this mindfulness, or not taking things for granted, takes us to the next beautiful quality called contentment. Actually, the secret of happiness is contentment. So only a person who is content can be happy. Otherwise, no matter how much money you can have, you will never be happy. If you have contentment, even with little money, you can be happy. If you have got contentment, even with little power, you can be happy. If you have got contentment, even with little health, you can be happy. If you have got contentment, even with a little life, you can be happy. So contentment is the key to happiness. Now it is said, you cannot develop contentment if you don't appreciate, or if you are not grateful. It is beautifully said. How can you be saying enough if you don't appreciate what you already have? How can you can have a sense of enough if you do not appreciate what you have? So to develop contentment, which is one of the most important quality in life, we must develop sense of gratitude, because gratitude develops a sense of contentment, a mindset of contentment. Next one, please. If there's no contentment, everything goes into a black hole. We don't appreciate what we have. So in that way, gratitude helps a person to start with a sense of enough rather than scarcity. Because when you appreciate what you have, you start to have sense of enough rather than scarcity. What is scarcity? I do not have, I need more. So we don't focus on what we do not have. The next one. So that's a gratitude is called. The next one, the last one. So I know there are 5 more minutes for me to go. So optimism is not just having good and positive feelings. So often we misunderstand optimism as always having good and positive. No, 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 no. Optimism is to have hope amidst problems. Your wife and you have got problems, still you are optimistic, means that's what. You don't have fight, that's not optimism actually. So in a way, gratitude trains us to see the brighter side of the story. What is gratitude? You focus on the blessings you happen. You focus on the success it happened. The more you focus on, the good things that happen, automatically your mind trains to see the brighter side of the same story. In that way, gratitude instill in us optimism. Next slide, please. So a study shows that the more grateful you are, the more optimistic you become. It's a very simple logic. The more you look at positive, this is like learning a language. The more you practice, the language comes automatically to you. In the same way, the more you look at good things and grateful things, your mind sees automatically the glass half full. It creates a brain cycle in you that you start to see. The next slide, please. For example, evolutionarily, we are designed to see the black spot. There's a white wall and the black spot. That is a famous example. Evolutionarily, we are designed to see the black spot because evolutionarily, we are designed to see the threat so that we will protect us. No problem. But the problem with us is most of us get stuck over there, stopping to see the black spot. But what is the beauty is you have to learn to see the white wall also. The more you see grateful things, you are grateful in your life, you automatically you see the black spot, then you also go to the white wall. In that regard, gratitude can be cultivated if you want. So that's the beauty of gratitude. Gratitude can be cultivated. I have got 4 more slides and I will finish it. Next one, please.
Sorry, sir, we are having less than a minute for this session. We will continue with the same link in 2 minutes.
Okay.
Yes, I think this session will end in a few seconds. Dear participant, please sign in the same link. We will have the remaining session and question and answer session with the expert. Please join with us.